Hi class, this video is to help you get started with the residential project. So you're going to see a set of construction documents. They're fairly simple. We have a foundation plan, a floor plan, elevations, a building section, and then some porch details. So to start off, what I want you to do is to go into Revit, and we're going to start a new project. So we're going to say new, and then we're going to browse right here for our templates, and you are going to browse and you are going to look for residential default, and then you're going to say open. If you don't have residential default, start with the architectural template. Never start with anything but those two, or you won't have the proper datum lines built into your project. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to adjust our datum lines. So you need to pick an elevation. In this case, I'm going to pick my north elevation. And I'm going to see that there's already some pre-generated datum lines in here. So we need to compare our drawing to these datum lines to see what we need. So if I scroll down to my elevations, I've already kind of worked on this for you. There are no datum lines present. So I need to refer to my building section to find the heights of my walls. So you can see numbers filled in right here. The way I found these was looking at my walls in the building section. So I'll go to the building section, and I'm going to zoom in, and I want you to take a look at the heights right here, these vertical distances. So you can see that we have a dimension that's going from the finished floor, and it's going up to the top of the wall, and that dimension is 8 feet 1.5 inches. So in Revit, we'll have our first floor datum line, and then from our first floor, we're going to call this, instead of, we're going to leave second floor there, but we're going to make a new level, and we're going to uncheck make a plan view. We just want a reference. We're going to click and make a new level here, make sure they all line up, and I'm going to actually call this top of wall. So I'm going to call it T.O. wall. And then the height of that should be 8 feet 1.5 inches, and then hit enter. Alright, so you'll see that it's black because what that means is that it did not create another plan view over here. It just has created a reference datum line so that I can attach my walls properly. So I'm going to leave my first floor here, my top of wall here. Let's look back at our drawing. Now we're going to go down, so we have our 8 foot 1.5 inches from our first floor to the top of our wall, and now we need to account for this floor thickness in here. So we have our floor, which is running underneath our wall, and then we have this header board right here, which is blocking all of our joists and our floors so that we can't see them from the outside. So this floor thickness from here to here is 10 inches. And then we have a sill plate, which is a 2x8 right here. So that's going to be 1.5 inches. So I need to account for a distance of 11.5 inches between my first floor and the top of my foundation wall. So I'm going to go back into Revit, and I want to create another datum line, and it's going to be called, again, uncheck make a plan view. It's going to be called top of foundation. So I'm going to run it over here, double click in here, and say TO foundation. And that foundation is going to be negative 11.5 inches. Alright, so let's go back to our drawing just to double check. Yeah, 10 plus 1.5, negative 1.5, 11.5 inches, excuse me. Now you can see it's overlapping this line that says foundation right here. I'm going to move this down just a little bit to get it out of the way, and we're going to deal with this in just a second. So I have top of foundation. Ours is not a basement in our drawing, it's actually a crawl space. So I am going to delete that line out, and it says it will delete my other views. I'm going to say OK. And then my top of footing, according to my section, is going to be 4 feet. So I go from the sill plate all the way down, that's my foundation wall, is 4 feet. So the top of my footing is at negative 4 feet. So my top of my footing right here will be negative 4 feet. I'll hit enter. And then the bottom of my footing will be, my footing is a 2 feet by 1 feet, so it will be a foot lower. So the bottom of my footing is going to be -5 feet. Okay. So something that you should always do graphically is you should move these to line up with each other, these little bends. It's just something that people are looking for in architecture firms, is for you to be neat with your drawings. So these should all be at the same angle. If it's a 45-degree angle, it should get an approximate graphic. And I know it sounds silly, but they really will call that out on you. Okay, so now that we have these views created, we can go back to our first floor plan, and we need to create a wall type in order to draw our floor plan. So I'm going to go over in my section, and I'm going to take a look at the wall construction. It says I have a 2x6 stud, Tyvek building wrap, and vinyl siding. So I am going to create a wall type that is similar to that. So I'm going to look through my wall types that I already have, and I have one called exterior wood siding on wood stud. I'm going to pick that and see how it works. So I'm going to edit type, I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to call it exterior wall type A, and say OK. I want to show my section view here with the preview, and then edit the structure. So this one has clapboard siding, an air infiltration barrier, which is the building wrap, plywood sheathing. It is the correct size for 2x6, 5.5 inches, a vapor retarder, and gypsum wallboard. So I'm going to say, okay, let's use this. If you don't have this wall type, recreate it exactly as shown here. Make sure the core boundary only surrounds the structure. Create it exactly as you see here. This is the right way to draw this. Finish 1 of 5 means that it's an exterior finish, or 1 of 4, excuse me. See, it's on the exterior side. Finish 2 of 5 means it's an interior finish. That's why it's on the interior side. But always make sure that core boundary only surrounds the structural layer. Softwood lumber is a stud. Okay? So I'm going to say OK, and then OK. I need to look at my drawing for my floor plan. So here's my floor plan, and it gives you some exterior building dimensions. You can see that it's 28 feet 1 inches by 40 feet. So I'm going to go back to Revit, and I have to set my location line properly. So I'm going to set it on Finish Face Exterior, and then I am going to leave my height not as unconnected, but I want it to go up to top of wall. So now I can draw 28 feet 1, so 28 feet 1 inches. Whoops, that was crooked. Let's try that again. And then by 40 feet. And then I can close my box. Make sure that you're always drawing between your elevation markers here. You can even move your building and center it more appropriately. Alright, now I'm going to change my detail level to fine, and I want to make sure that my building material is on the outside of my building. So I'm going to zoom in, and I can see this hatch right here, this diagonal hatch. That's the hatch for wood, so I know that my building is correct. My walls are correct. See, if I look at it in 3D, everything is correct. I'm now going to dimension my building to make sure that it's actually the proper dimensions. So I'm going to use align dimensions, go from the wall face. I'm going to dimension from the face of, wall face. I'm going to dimension from the face of the wall to the face of the wall and pull that up. That's 28.1. And then I'm going to dimension from here to here, and that's 40 feet. And these are just going to be reference dimensions for now. Now I can go back to my drawing and I can look at the other parts of my floor plan. Okay, so I have the exterior drawn, and now I need to draw the interior walls. So let's see if we have information on how the interior wall, or what the interior walls are made up of. So I'm going to take a look over here in these notes and see if it tells me. About the interior walls, and I don't see anything, so I'm going to zoom out and go back to that building section. Oop, I passed it. I'm going to look here for one of the interior walls, and it doesn't tell me, so I'm going to tell you what it is. So we are going to use, for the interior wall, we will use an interior 4.5-inch partition. I'm just going to hit edit type to ensure. Yep, that's going to be 2x4 with 1/2-inch drywall. That's going to be okay. So it's good. That's what we're going to use. A basic wall, interior 4.5-inch partition. So we'll look back at our floor plan view, and now we'll draw the interior walls. So you can see from the dimensions that this first dimension here, for this first room, is 14 feet from the exterior wall face to the center line of the wall. So I am going to draw a wall right down the center, and then I'm just going to verify that the dimensions are correct. So I'm going to go from the wall face, and then I'm going to pick center line, and then I'm going to bring that up. Now it looks like it's about 14.5, but if I dimension the other side, let's see, they should be equal. Oops. Yeah, so it's 14.5, so that's fine. It's just evenly spaced. Go back to your plan, look at the width of the length of that room. So it says that it's 12'6". Remember, that's from the exterior face again to the interior face. So we're going to draw another wall. I'm just going to draw it right here, and then I'm going to use a dimension from the exterior face to the interior face. And this wall, to move it, I click on the wall, and then I use the temporary dimensions type 12'6", and I'll move that wall. And then I can use the trim command here to trim off that piece. Okay, so you just really need to carefully look at the drawings and where the dimensions are running to so that you get the dimensions correct. So for the closet, make sure that you're starting from that 12'6" dimension and that you're going back down here to the inside of the wall for the closet width, or depth, which is 2'6". The width of the closet is from, again, the exterior face of the wall to the interior face. So just make sure you're paying attention. You have to draw the wall, and then you have to do the dimensions to make sure that your dimensions are right, and you can use temporary dimensions to adjust your walls. I'm going to leave that to you guys to work on. The one thing I'll say is that these dimensions are not proper. They're not proper dimensioning standards, but I do want you to use them to help you to draw all the walls in the correct spot just to begin with. You should draw everything that you see on the floor plan. So you should draw all the interior walls, and then all the windows, all the doors, and then all these plumbing fixtures should also be included. Right here, this wall is known as a wet wall, so I will help you to draw that. Let me just pause and draw the space so that we can review that. Okay, so for that wet wall, what that means is that there is plumbing running behind this. It's just a chase space, so it allows pipes to come up and run on the inside of your building so that the pipes are not in the exterior wall where they could freeze and then burst in the winter. So we need to create a wall type for this piece of wall right here. So again, it's this piece, the pieces of wall that have circled on the drawing. So we're going to go to Revit. We're going to go to wall types. We're going to use the exterior or the interior 4.5-inch partition. We're going to edit and we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to call it interior, and this is going to be wet wall. And we're going to say OK. And then we're going to edit the structure. So the only difference with the wet wall is that on the interior side that we have to remove the gypsum wallboard finish. Okay, so we're going to delete that. You can't have gypsum wallboard on the inside of this wall because that's where the plumbing is, and it would be impossible to build it. So actually I picked the wrong side. It should have been the exterior, but I'll just, if you hit spacebar while you're drawing a wall, it'll put stuff on the right side. Okay, so see, my drywall is actually on the outside of the wall. That's correct, and there's no drywall on the inside in the chase space. So just think about that, like how could there be drywall on this part of the wall if, like how would you ever even finish that? You wouldn't be able to. Now you may be noticing that there's drywall here and there's drywall here. Good points. So once you draw your chase space, you'll have to trim your wall, and then you'll have to use the wet wall you just created. And you're going to need to draw the wall. Oops, and you're going to need to align those. Sorry about that. What? I don't know why this wall face tool is not wanting to work for me. Okay, here we go. Oh. Let's just do center line to center line then. You're going to want to align those walls, and it just does not want to move with my align tool, so I'm going to use the move command. Oops. I'm going to use the move command doing this. So if this happens to you, this is a cheat. I move it away from